Now, they're not exactly, you know, you can have worry and have it to show in red 17. They're kind of interchangeable to some extent, okay? And then on the back, we're going to have T3 to T7. And left bladder 43 often reflects with the nervous system because the left inner border of the scapula, and I don't mean exactly bladder 43, generally the inner border of the scapula, because left side there is going to show cardiac issues. You know, the pacemaker is part of the autonomic nervous system also. It's an electric current sort of thing. So a lot of people, I'm going to estimate that 80 to 90% of patients show left bladder 43. Okay? Right bladder 43 shows in cases of liver. Okay? But left is extremely, extremely common to see left side UB43, and I use DO2 for it. Okay, so you'll see I use DO2 a lot with people. Then you're also going to have stomach 9, the whole SCM. So stomach 9 is a little different than just the SCM. Yes, it's the middle part of the SCM, but it's a little bit more specific than just the SCM. By the way, I don't do one knuckle in. The SCM I do with the flat part of my hand. Okay, I don't poke. This is very uncomfortable to poke someone like this into the SCM. It's the flat part of your hand. It's a little different palpation. The scalenes are important in the occiput, so that's the whole neck, as we talked about before. Also, always look for, you know, someone can say, I have insomnia, I have anxiety, I have, you know, I worry a lot, you know, with depression, whatever. Also look for other conditions. So, you know, there's the autonomic nervous system in general, there's the thyroid, you know, which always affects the autonomic nervous system. If they have sugar imbalances, people who have sugar issues, and they may not eat sugar at all, but they know they have, that can affect the you know, anxiety and insomnia. The spleen, remember, don't forget the spleen sort of thing. The spleen type will tend to be more prone to emotional issues. And also because what happens is sugar, you know, sugar is very bad for muscular problems. Okay, why? Because you're eating sugar and your muscles are ready to go, and then after the sugar high, they're so if you're a sugar kind of person that loves sugar, your muscles are always getting ready to go and collapsing, getting ready to go, collapsing, getting ready. It's the same thing, and then eventually you either get with cramps or you get with atrophied muscles. Okay, that's very typical of people who love sugar. The same kind of thing happens in the brain too. Okay, the brain gets all this sugar. It's like ready to go. It's like, okay, let's do something, and then it's like, oh, but I'm starving for sugar. Okay, so you're yo-yoing your capacity of activity too much by being, you know, the people are always looking for sugar. You know, it's most of us, but just to acknowledge. But sugar is really a very bad thing for you, nothing to do, regardless of the inflammatory effect that it has. It's the natural effect of the body that having energy and get easily available energy and being like triggered into action, and then kind of like, well, and then this energy is gone, and then the body doesn't know what to do with it. And it's the same with emotionally. It triggers up emotional upheaval sort of thing, non-consistency. There's a certain type of person which is often related to, the sugar type will tend to have that more than non-sugar types, but the people who are standing kind of like this, but they're often, if they're a very large person, and everything falls onto the inguinal, the L5 is sort of pushed forward, or they may have been someone who's had a hysterectomy or some sort of operation to pull out organs, everything falls down. So there's a downward pull in the body. Okay, so that's another type, what we call the visceral ptosis type. And even though I'm saying, yes, liver is not as prominent in the system in terms of emotions, liver, you do check the liver. You know, it's not, and partially because, you know, the liver makes sure that, you know, if your liver is kind of stuck, or whatever, then the rest of the body, there's like a sort of, quote-unquote, a level of toxicity in the blood that's, the whole body is just not clear. So there's not going to be fluffy. If the liver is not working well, your body is not going to have a sort of a lightness or a fluffiness to it. Okay, so it's the same concept as the up and down. And then we have another type to look into, we call stagnant blood in the head. It shows that do 20 or around do 20 may have pressure pain, it may feel warm. And so those type, and that often happens after giving birth, like postpartum depression. The stagnant blood in the head relates to often to an injury in the lower abdomen. So the name for Ren form is Guan Yuan. The gate, or the gateway to Yuan is primary, but it really doesn't, it literally means primary as opposed to source, because there's also Yuan that's a source, like the source point, a Yuan point. This Yuan is different. This Yuan is written as 2 lines over the feet, meaning like the head. Okay? It's primary, meaning coming from the head, coming from the top. So Guan Yuan by name relates to the head. Okay? And then you also have this sort of like idea that you can image, if your nose is in the middle of your face, right? Your navel's in the middle of your abdomen. So then if you image from that, you'll get your eyes will fall onto stomach 25, your ears will fall onto liver 13, and the top of that, do 20, will fall into Ren 4. Okay? So Ren 4 and the head are very clearly related in a whole bunch of ways. Okay? So this stagnant blood in the head is originally, about postpartum depression. But these are just conditions to look into as possibilities. Then the neck, because it connects the brain and the heart, or the body. So it's very important to always look at the SCM, which is, how many of you watched Star Trek Next Generation in the old days? Okay, not too many. Oh, more. Okay, admissions. Okay. There's a species there. They're called the Cardassians. Okay, so if you remember the Cardassians, the guy who I met the guy who did this because I was doing a class in Los Angeles, and I said, "Wow, whoever designed their costume is brilliant because he put a tube like an SCM." So these people have, these Cardassians, they're the Nazis of the 24th century, whatever. And they have tubes here, so they look angry no matter what they do, because they have the sticking. People who have their SCM stick out, you immediately think, wow, you're angry, kind of thing. So because the SCM is over the vagus nerve, which is a parasympathetic nerve. And if this is congested, you don't get parasympathetic feedback into the organs. Okay? So anyways, I said that, and this guy sitting in the back of the class, and his wife came to be a treatment in the class. I said, "Oh, that's me." So in Hollywood, you can get this, And the scalenes are also breathing muscles. So the scalenes you kind of get between the 2 heads of the SCM, and then if you go further back and up, you can get the scalenes. Okay? And they can be very sensitive on people. Okay? Now, the SCM I press with the palm of the whole flat of my hand. The scalenes I am pressing with the tips, but you can't get a knuckle in there. You don't even try. That's not it. And the cervicals. And around C3 you have the phrenic nerve, which controls the diaphragm. So this area is highly related to the autonomic nervous system also. So the whole neck is very important. And another reflex is, we talked about Ren 9, but there's also, you can get a pulse at Ren 9. You don't have to press very hard. Sometimes you just place your finger, sometimes you can actually see the abdomen quivering. But sometimes you just place your hand on it, or you press a little bit, and you can feel the pulse. And it's not just on Ren 9, often it will be left side of the navel and below. Sometimes it will go all the way up to Ren 12 or even up to Ren 15. The higher up it goes, that could be problematic, and the harder it is to correct it. Okay? So that's considered, because the blood contains the we say the blood is the carrier, is the substrate for the emotions. So it means that the blood is spilling out, the emotions are spilling out. So it's a little bit like the heart cannot contain the emotions. Okay? It can also be sinus reflex, like we talked, but it's also often, it's just a weakness in the lower dantian. Okay? Because the pulse that you're feeling, the aorta, you should not feel, it's like I'm relatively thin. There's still, there's a good 3, there's a good 3 zone between the front of the spine and the skin of the abdomen. So if you can press and feel a pulse, it means that the tissue that's surrounding the small intestine, the mesenteric tissue, doesn't have good tonicity. Because you should not feel the pulse, from here when the pulse is in front. The aorta is just in front of the spine. So it means that the lower dantian is weak. So that's why you want to strengthen the lower dantian using the Mushu point. Ren 4, go all the way to the side. Okay. Originally, the treatment for Ren 4, for Ren 9 pulse, for Ren 9 pressure pain was stomach 24 on the right side. Stomach 24 is called slippery flesh gate, Wayomen. Okay. So because you have the flesh here is slippery. You're feeling the pulse, it's slippery. Okay? So using slippery flesh gate. For one thing, for me, too close. Why right side? For us, this is one of those weird phenomena. For us, the right side is considered the blood side. The left side is the chi side. You will probably disagree if you are trained with other methods, but I'm just going to explain to you why it's like that, and you can continue to disagree. It's totally fine, no big deal. But I tend to start needling on the left side always because it's the chi side. Move the chi before you move the blood. And that works for me clinically. Why is the left, suddenly the left becomes yang and the right becomes yin, when everybody thinks that, yang is the right side. The yang meridians go from heaven down to earth. No argument there, right? Bladder channel, yang channel goes towards the feet. Large intestine is a yang channel, goes downwards, basically, because that's the anatomical position, the Chinese anatomical position, sort of thing. So, and the yin meridian come from the earth and they flow up to heaven, because it's where I know people say yang should go up, but if yang comes from heaven, it can't keep going up because what's above heaven? Then yang, you can either, then you say yang starts at the yin, which is one way to look at it. You can reverse these things any way you like. So we have a system that says that yang moves downwards and yin moves upwards. So where in the body do we have something that clearly shows moving up and down? In the intestine, we have moving up, across, and down. The down is on the left side. The up is on the right side. So now it's kind of interesting. So the left side is moving down, which is yang, and the right side is moving up, which is yin. And now you have this idea that, but yang is, if I'm right-handed, yang is pushing out, et cetera, that's where this idea that yang should be the right side, because most people supposedly are right-sided. Okay? But if you're actually looking just at the body, it does make sense to suggest that the left side is the chi side, the yang side, and the right side is the blood side. Okay? So that's why stomach 24, slippery flesh gate, but on the right side because it's blood. It's what you're feeling is a pulse, is a blood. Okay? But quite honestly, Mushu is a much better solution for it. If you find a Ren 9 pulse on the back, it sort of suggests that you should do UB52 outside the kidney shoe towards the spine. Okay? And okay, so now looking at actual treatments. Eileen, are we waiting for her to fill out the form?
Just going to put short.
Okay, okay. I'll just So Ren 15, and that's going to apply to Ren 17 and even to Ren 9 for 3 emotional reflexes. Your basic treatment is going to be spleen 3. Remember, spleen relates to emotions, and especially spleen 3. The big white, meaning pushing upwards. Okay, because it's the white of dawn, of the sun rising. Okay? Plus pericardium. Now you'll see this expression pericardium without a point name. Okay? Because in the pericardium channel, the way I choose points is I press pericardium 8, which is the fire point, like you saw in her. If pericardium 8 has no pain, no nothing, I can choose either pericardium 4. On me, you can see fairly well that there's a little depression here, 3 fingers below. That's pericardium 4 for me. okay? Or you can use pericardium 6, one or the other. How do you know which one to use? Check something in the neck, kind of the relevant one, and whichever one fixes the neck better, back of the neck, front of the back, scalenes, whatever, this is the one you choose. That's if there's no pain in pericardium 8. If there is pressure pain on pericardium 8, you're using pericardium 3, which for me is in the middle, right here, between the tendons. I don't have a pericardium on the ulnar side. Pericardium is straight out in the middle. My lung is not, lung 5 is not on the tendon, it's outside here. It's more lateral. Okay, if you touch, if you touch lung 5 right at the tendon, you'll feel nothing. If you go slightly outside, you'll see that there's something in a connective tissue there. You always, for me, if you ask me how does acupuncture work, the answer I have no clue. However, I believe that acupuncture has something to do with the fascia, with the connective tissue. I know, I'll be with you in a second. And therefore, I'm looking, what I believe needles do is they break down the connective tissue that got congealed. It's the same thing as cheek congestion, the needle will open up the cheeks, right? Same sort of expression, basically. So at lung 5 by the tendon, in my opinion, there's nothing. But if you go slightly more lateral, there's a place that feels kind of congealed, like a little balloon, overpuffed balloon or something. That's what I'm trying to break down. So if pericardium 8 is painful, I do pericardium 3 and pericardium 5 together. That's metal and water. Why? Because water overcomes fire. Pericardium 8 is fire. And metal is the mother of water, therefore helps water overcome fire. So generally speaking, if you can get away with not speaking about excess, but treating the deficiency, because why does excess come in? Because there's something weak in the body that allowed it, supposedly. So speaking in the lingo of ancient Chinese, so to speak, or arrogant Chinese, maybe, is the superior physician should always be looking for the deficiency and correct the deficiency, rather than the schleppy one that just clears up the excess. Okay. So ideally, and that's why most of my needling is with the flow of the channel. I'm trying to so if I have something that's quote-unquote an excess fire in a channel, I'm trying to clear it by tonifying rather than by reducing. Rather than reduce the fire, how can I quote-unquote be smart about it? Well, if I tonify water and tonify the metal to tonify more water, I did a good job, supposedly. Okay, so that's this concept. It's very strong for the pericardium channel, and it's a very strong concept for the kidney channel. If kidney 2 is painful, and with kidney 2, you don't just press, because it's an area, you rub it. Okay? If kidney 2 is painful one side or the other, you should really use kidney 7 and 10. I often will get away with just kidney 7, without 10, but ideally you should add 10. What I don't have in the kidney channel, my other options are not so clearly defined, like in the pericardium, it's either pericardium 4 or 6. There's not a lot of points in the pericardium channel. Okay? And the kidney channel, well, could be kidney 3, could be kidney 6, could be, kidney 9. I have more options for if kidney 2 is not painful on the kidney channel, which I don't really have on the pericardium channel. Okay? So we'll stop here in the lecture and we'll bring you in.
Hi.
Hi. So tell us what you're here for.
I'm sent out.
No, I understand that. It sounded almost like I had a calling from the guy upstairs. What are your complaints?
Insomnia.
How long have you had insomnia?
Probably 20 years.
20 years.
I live with it.
Before you had, how old are you, if you don't mind?
55 next week.
55
Can I
next week.
hang on to 54 for a little while?
Sorry?
Can I hang on to 54 a little while?
Oh,
longer?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay. Can I ask, okay, so 20 years ago, at age 22, when you were 20 years ago, you had no insomnia whatsoever? It came on suddenly?
Maybe occasionally, because I have 3 children. The first one didn't sleep properly for about 15 months. The second one didn't sleep properly for about 2 years, 2 months. So I got into a bit of a pattern where
Yes.
I could wake up very easily. And then probably over the last 20 years, I frequently get by on 3.5 hours. If I'm having a good night, I'm on 5 hours a night.
So before you had children, you slept like a log?
Not like a log, but I would say I'd sleep normal 7 hours or whatever it was.
Okay, no problem. Okay. And so you think really it's just like the constants of wear and tear from the children?
Wear and tear, maybe a little bit of preoccupation, a little bit of thinking. But even if I attempt to go to sleep early, I can go to bed at 10 o'clock, try and get to bed early. I'll be up first time maybe 12:30, and it's like, oh, why isn't it 5 o'clock in the morning? Why isn't it? And then I have to settle back down again. I can get up quite easily, but it's repeat waking up.
Okay.
And my usual routine at the moment, summertime or whatever, 12:30 bed, up for 5:30.
Okay, so 12 to 5, that's the 5 hours. So, but it sounds like you go to bed at 12, but you actually wake up at 3:30.
I can do, yeah.
Oh,
3:30, 4:30, whatever.
And you can, once you wake up, you can't fall asleep again.
I go back down, but I sleep sort of like, it's like half an hour, 45 minutes, and I keep getting up.
Okay, once the first lot, whatever lot it is, 3.5 to 5 hours is done, there's not going to be much more sleep than 45 minutes.
No.
It's a done deal, no matter what time, even if it was 2 o'clock in the morning.
No. I have an occasion, and it's not very healthy. I've gone a day, a night into the day, then I sleep fully the night after that, which is not a healthy thing. You shouldn't be doing that. But it's something I.
Yes. Okay. Any other medical issues? In the
past? I've got a heart murmur, a bicuspid valve, and some stenosis of the aortic valve. Found out a few years ago. A little bit of distension around the stomach, and
when you say distension, does that mean that you feel bloated?
yeah, I can feel a little
with
bit
food?
bloated. It's not so much food; it's after I've eaten food. I can feel a little bit bloated, a little bit heavy. And I think over the last couple of years, you may talk about menopause, making it more pronounced. It was there before, but things are a little bit more pronounced. So I feel a little bit heavier, a little bit slower. I still have to do the same things I've always done, but I have to put more effort into everything, because I'm quite a busy person. So, yeah.
Anything else?
Oh gosh, started with a bit of swelling around the ankles, started with that last year. It's becoming a little bit more pronounced this year. So that's, but it's, it was only really coming here and getting needled and thought, oh gosh, you've got swollen ankles. And not really, because you don't really look at them. I don't particularly look at myself closely, but yeah, so that's become more of a thing.
Okay. All right. How much sugar do you eat?
Oh, loads.
Loads.
Yeah. I used to be a nurse.
Oh yes, talk no more. I know those drawers with all the
You need a
chocolates.
2-litre bottle of Coke. But I'm no longer nursing. I have retired. I was a forensic nurse. I retired and left that behind. But I've not left my Coke habit behind. So no, not serious. Yeah.
The Coke habit.
Yes, Coca-Cola.
Okay, so forensic nurses, that's not, it's not like hospital nurse or,
It's working in a secure hospital, so I work with people that have committed offences, maybe personality
Oh, okay,
disorder.
but still, yes.
Managing aggression.
Yes.
It's a secure ward,
Okay.
secure environment, yeah.
Gotcha, okay. No, because nurses in most, most nurses, especially in hospitals, will have like drawers full of sugar stuff. Because it's very hard, and I can understand because it's better, if a Kit Kat at least is wrapped, you don't have to wash your hands all the time. If you have a piece of fruit, you have to wash your hands before you eat. I mean, at least you feel like you have to, so it's like so much easier to just eat candy. So,
yeah, it's difficult to describe. It's that type of nursing. It's an extreme environment. Not all nurses who even go into it stay very long. It's an extreme environment.
Yeah.
You generally start at 7 in the morning, finish at 8. But some of us that turn in. I've worked before now up to 7, gone through to about 3 the following morning. So you need to keep your levels up. Yeah.
On a show. Oh, you're limping slightly?
I did my cruciate ligament years ago, so I've got trauma arthritis in this leg, and and I've had reconstructive surgery. From time to time, yeah, it gets weighed down.
And that's the one.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you look at her, okay, just standing, no, don't worry about it. But she does have a sort of like a downwardness to her, right? It's fairly obvious. And you see that the result is that the shoulders are trying to pick her up because she's not pushing down, so she doesn't have it up. So therefore the shoulders are like trying to desperately rescue, and in her case the neck doesn't get so involved, but the result is that she's got a little push forward. So there's a sort of, if we can fluff her up, a little bit. Give sort of like a less condensed, and then maybe I don't know how much it relates to the sleep, but maybe there's maybe it does. So if you don't mind the shoes off and maybe the watch off, and then we'll put you on here face up. Family history of anything?
Family history, diabetes. Just diabetes, really.
You sweat easily?
No, I've just run here. I'm not made for running. So sorry, that's why I'm sweating.
Okay, so your head's going to be here,
And
that's for your knees.
Thank you.
So it's they're not straight, so it's a little easier if you go. Hold it lift up for a second. Okay. All right. You bruise easily, huh?
I bruise very easily. Yeah.
Okay.
I can pull these up.
Would you mind?
No, I don't mind.
Go ahead. I'm not sure if the heat in England makes people's pulses go deeper. It's supposed to do the other way, right? Because it's second person, but I'm finding it hard to find the pulse. Always rapid?
Not that I've particularly noticed. I've noticed in the last few years the palpitations, and I do occasionally get a little bit of a
so you
twinge.
feel palpitation? Okay.
Yeah, but I put that down to yeah.
And do you grind your teeth?
No, I don't.
You don't. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Anything? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. It's the way you hold your mouth suggests that you do, so that's why I'm checking, making sure, because sometimes people don't know.
I'm waiting to go to the dentist.
Oh.
I've lost a bit of a tooth, so.
Any discomfort? 2, 3, 4, 5. That's just the scar. No. And anything? No discomfort at all around the knee. Push. Push against. Any discomfort? No. No. Okay. So we'll let go of the knee. It seems like. You say you do have occasional discomfort, though.
Yes. A limp comes and goes if I've been walking too much.
Where do you feel it?
I feel it at the back of the leg. It feels like the fluid, and I get very puffy underneath the knee. Yeah. Yeah, I can feel that.
You can feel that. Okay. Okay. So around UB40. UB40, not G. Bladder. 40. Okay. All right. I'm going to check abdomen. When I press here, you just feel my fingers?
Yes.
Okay. If you feel something different, let me know. Okay? So, left stomach 26, 27. Right stomach 26, 27. Below kidney 16. Below kidney 16 on the right. Ren 9. Ren 12.
Feels uncomfortable.
A little uncomfortable. Okay, so Ren 12. How about Ren 15? You don't like that, okay.
Yeah.
So, so because it's called worry reflex, we ask, do you worry?
Yeah.
Okay, that's okay. Not sad, just worry. Okay. Comparing right side to left side. They feel the same?
Feel the same.
And here?
The same.
Same. Okay. And because cardiac, I have to check left kidney line and pericardium 1. I have to check the, around the heart for cardiac reflexes. So 1, 2, 3. Any discomfort? No. How about spleen 20? Pericardium 1. Okay. My pericardium 1 is just like stomach 18 at the root, which is called the root of the breast. I take the root of the breast to the side. Because if you go one cun away from the nipple, I don't care if it's a man or a woman, this is not a place you want to check anybody on. It just makes no sense. And why the hell would they put a point there? So for me, it's more like if you think of, just like there's a root of the breast at the bottom, there's a side root for the breast. And that for me would be pericardium 1. So nothing.
That last point.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay, so a little higher than pericardium 1 officially, maybe. Okay. And how's stomach? Oh, okay, you have this. No. Okay. And the other thing I always check for cardiac, don't help, it's okay, is small intestine 11. No? That's surprising. Cardiac people usually show almost universally small. I'm just checking different places to make sure. No? Wow. Okay, let's check the outer bladder line. No.
Could I ask medication?
Are you taking any medication?
I don't take any medication. I took some ibuprofen for the tooth yesterday, a few doses, but
Did you say you were about to say that maybe there was
a
something here?
little bit lower than that, just half an inch that way.
Okay. So you be 42, 43 on the left side, but surprisingly, relax there, transfer. Surprisingly no small intestine 11, even though she is a cardiac category. Okay. And so up to now we have worry and a little bit on 12, and there was something else in the abdomen.
15.
15 and 12, and nothing else. Okay. And nothing on Ren 12. Oh, and she had a higher pericardium 1. This one, right? Okay. That's the only one that showed it, and UB43 on the left side. Okay. How is SCM?
That feels fine.
Okay. And it's tight though. And 1, 2, 3. This one? Okay. How about, oops, this cable, the tight, 2, 3, 4. Anything? No. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. I feel that they're tight, but the thing is, if the patient doesn't say anything, then I can try and release it. But if I lost the big advantage of them being able to say so, and therefore they know that something's happening. So it's not as worth it for me. How about the cervicals? 1, 2, 3, 4. The right side, 1, 2, 3, 4.
It's a little bit on one.
On 1. Okay, so at the very top. Okay, on the right side. Okay. How is pericardium 8 here? Feels fine. And pericardium 8 here?
That feels fine also.
Okay. How's your blood pressure, by the way? What is your blood pressure?
It's normally on the low side, but I had it read a few days ago, and I was surprised. I was at work. It was 133/84,
and I was staggered because it's usually a lot lower than that.
Okay. How far into menopause are you?
Oh, I've finished.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. There is a phenomenon of people who are, especially women, who have low blood pressure, but at menopause they switch to high. But it sounds like in your case it's just, you know, so it does sound she has possibly an autonomic nervous system issue. Anything here?
No.
And kidney to this side? No. Liver or spleen? Liver or spleen, sorry. Alright. So Ren 12, 15, pericardium 1 and UB 43. That's pretty much it. We had some SCM on here and here. Is that correct? No. Here?
Can you point the camera?
It's the SCM on the right. Sorry.
By the time I get
Nothing?
too late.
Okay, so nothing in the neck. Okay. How about the occiput? Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So about GP20 on the. This is the left side, and excuse me. 1, 2, 3.
The first one.
Okay. So this is more closer to do 15, but slightly to the right. So do 15 slightly to the right, and left GP20. Right. Okay. Good. We've got. And these clearly will reflect insomnia. Okay, because of, you know, this area, it's like it guards the brain so the brain can be calm. It's the wind area, right? If you're like this and she is like this, because she doesn't have the holding pattern from the leg, this is dropping, so her shoulders come up to protect her, and then the head gets thrown forward. Okay. Now, part of this posture could have been 3 children, right? 3 childbirths can also, you know, help. And then she's tired because, you know, how far apart are the children?
Gosh, 26, 24 and 20. That's how old they are. So,
Okay, so
2 years and 4. Yeah.
Yeah, 2 and, okay. So you know, like she said, she got into habit, but there's also a physical body habit that might have, you know, I don't know, I didn't see what your posture was like before.
I used to be very upright, very straight. But I never used a pushchair or a pram. I used to carry my kids so the shoulders are at the front. Because I'm a dog walker. I've always had dogs, so I'm always. So I need
Yes.
So yeah, that's why I'm a bit.
Okay. So let's try. I'm pressing spleen 9. You had something on Ren 12. How is it now?
I'm not noticing it.
Okay. But you and how's this guy now? Not noticing it. Okay. The reason I'm choosing spleen 9 is because it's part of the blood pressure combination. Blood pressure is spleen 6, spleen 9 plus pericardium, as opposed to choosing the spleen 3 plus pericardium. Okay, so I'm testing which, you know, I think should be work out the best. Now, sorry. So you have something here, correct?
Yes.
Okay. When I press on spleen 9 on the knee, how is the chest?
I'm not noticing it.
No, noticing. Okay. One more. You had GB43 on the left, correct? How is now?
So let's see.
Not the same. How much is left?
It's very little, very little.
And now?
I'm not feeling anything.
Okay, cool. So I basically, you know, I don't have a huge amount of body findings to treat, you know, to check against, but I do want to find out this guy here, right? When I press under your knee, how is it now?
It's not feeling the same. It's not feeling the
How
same.
much is left?
Just about 20%.
20%, okay.
Whereabouts are you up here? Sorry.
GB20 on the left.
GB20.
How's now?
It's about the same.
Meaning 20%
Yes.
left. Okay. And if you don't mind bending this leg for me? Bend. To the knee. So, yes, thank you. So they can see. You can lean against my chin.
You sure?
Thank you. Middle of the heel. It's insomnia point. We say this is the insomnia point. How's GB20? Yeah, this one.
I'm not feeling anything.
Now you're not feeling anything. Okay, So now I basically know what I need to do. Do you see? This is the process that I go through in order to know. I come up with an idea. The idea is, I ask, do you have low blood pressure? What is your blood pressure? It's low, and then the nervous system sort of, has these weird spikes for her. And she's surprised when it's 133/80. So, and I'm checking if my so-called protocol for blood pressure is going to fix the findings in the body. Okay? This is very different. Looks the same, but it's actually different than saying these findings in the body suggest that you have low blood pressure, therefore I'm using this protocol. There's nothing on this body that says, except the GB20 possibility, that says low blood pressure. This is, I'm asking, do you have low blood pressure? In other words, I'm coming up with the ideas more from the medical history. I am using the body as a way to confirm ideas. Some people use this system differently. Some people don't even ask the medical history. They're just palpating the body, and they're treating whatever they find by palpation. In my opinion, it's not as good. They'll argue that what I do is not as good. It's fine. But the reason why is because there is 20 different ways to fix any reflex in the abdomen. I can argue like for 20 different ways to fix it. And if you really push me, I'll find 30. Okay? There is more than one way to fix anything in the abdomen. Okay? So
Where could you pick spleen 9 over spleen 6?
a convenience. It's just shorter distance. Plus the problem with spleen 6 is that you don't have to have anemia.
No.
Okay. Spleen, like with spleen 9, this is like the blood. I just tend to start with spleen 9. It's just easier for me. I don't know. For one thing, it's the water point on the spleen channel. In other words, it's a named point. Spleen 6, with all due respect to the spleen 6 on the 3 channels, it's not a named. It's not a shoe point. So supposedly, spleen 9 should be a more, even spleen 5 is supposed to be a more powerful point than spleen 6. Most people would disagree, but that's kind of the way, so spleen 9 is really, and look, when somebody's going to have this downward sense, okay, it's going to accumulate under the knee. Okay, now, since you asked, because you know that I'm obsessed with uprightness, which she picked up even before I said anything. Do you know what the name for spleen 9? Oh, they'll just blow something up. Acupuncture is more important. The name is Yin. Ling Chuan, thank you. Ling means a mound, as it happens, and Chuan means a spring, to spring forward. On the other side of it is Yang Ling Chuan. Okay? Forget the yin and the yang. Ling Chuan, that there's a spring in the knee. Anybody here speaks French? Just to show you, this has nothing to do with Chinese culture or Chinese medicine. This is just truths in a body that people see. Do you know how do you say a knee in French? Le genou. Okay. What is the root of genou? To generate. Okay. Or in English, just to generate. Okay. So you generate things or spring up things from the knee, no matter what culture. By the way, in Hebrew, I don't expect anybody to know. But in Hebrew, this also has the same character as a pool. Okay, okay, so anyway, so we don't have to get into linguistics of every single language that exists in the world, but I'm just trying to say that, there is something in the knee that generates upwards. That's why below the knee. So now, because of that, I'm curious, because remember I started with, she doesn't have enough generating. Okay, so let me see if Golbara 34, which is the friend, how is this guy here?
I'm not really feeling it.
Great. How is, hold on, this you have, right?
Yes.
When I press below the knee, GB 34. Not really good?
Good in a positive, yeah.
Yeah, meaning this point is good, this is not
I'm not really
good.
feeling that point.
Yes,
when you
that-
press that.
Yeah. And you had something here,
Yes,
and how is it now?
I'm not feeling it the same.
Okay.
Is that under the rib or on
This
the...
one is range 15.
Oh, sorry.
I'm assuming that you have them all written down, you know exactly what I'm checking.
So I'm
It's-
going to say, look, you
Yeah,
looked
yes.
over one side.
I get it. And how's rent 12? I'll try and name the points.
Better.
Okay. So as those of you who have studied the system before, you know that there is no connection by protocol between gallbladder 34. The question is, how did I start with spleen 9? That's part of the explanation. There is no connection with gallbladder 34 and any of the reflexes that she has. Gallbladder 34 by dogma, this is what gallbladder 34, if you just palpate the body, this is when you'll use gallbladder 34. When you have sacroiliac ligament tightness, one side, you will use same side gallbladder 34. When you have a wrist problem, you will use gallbladder 34 opposite side. Okay? That's when those are the protocols for gallbladder 34. Okay? She doesn't have either of these. Or she didn't complain about them. And yet gallbladder 34 is a good point for her. Why? Because gallbladder 34 has to do with lifting, with springing things up, which is something we saw at the very beginning. In other words, your thought process starts the moment you see the patient, but you don't get attached. Okay, so she looks like she's like this, and I try different things, and then it's like all my upward stuff isn't working. Let go. Something else will work. No, I'm not attaching that she has to be a spring up, but if I'm going to do blood pressure, and you ask me why am I checking spleen 9 primary rather than spleen 6, is because spleen 6 doesn't have that lift up. This one has lift up to it, connotation, for me. Yes?
And what about kidney 6?
Okay, so, okay. I used to teach a class called Transcending Dogmas. It's my favorite thing to do. It's like to give you dogma and then poo-poo it all together. Kidney 6 is how I started the process thinking. And then I realized kidney 6 is just one of many. So yes, kidney is worthwhile thinking about because of the chwai that's in the kidney. But kidney 6, yes, is how you can teach a patient to separate here and feel an upwardness there. However, kidney 6 is not the best point, but also I realized you have other points that can serve that are not even on the kidney channel, like stomach 41, for example, can serve it. Spleen 3 can serve it also, by name. And also because you know, this, all the shoe points, this is how you step. She doesn't step though so well, it's okay, let's go. No, it doesn't happen. But this, you step on the shoe points, on the back of the shoe points. Okay? So this area is just as important. So this upward, just because I started with a phrase that sounded cute to me from the Heart Sutra and went to kidney 6, does not mean it's the only point. On the other hand, inner yin or liver 9 are kind of a little bit dictated. Because how many points are you going to have around here? On the lower thigh or upper thigh, worse, to deal with this. So you're more limited here. But in the leg, to start the spring, so I can start the spring in the knee if I want to. Okay? No pain on this gallbladder 34. Okay.
If you press it a little bit harder.
Okay, so there is something.
Yeah.
Okay, so we found something that relates to the knee. By the way, gallbladder 34 is classified as master of tendons, correct? Okay, wrong. In my opinion. I don't think it's related to tendons, because tendons should be liver, not gallbladder. But think of people going skiing. Okay, you're doing this. Gallbladder 34 is where you produce torque in the body. That's why it's related to the sacroiliac joint. To me, gallbladder 34 is master of torque, of small twists, not big twists around the waist, not this kind of twist, but small twists, and tendons tend to get twisted that way. Therefore, it's a master of tendons. But I wouldn't say that if you're like liver blood not nourishing tendon kind of thing. Tendons generally I do liberate. Okay. So you said you have pain here, correct? Okay. So, and what were the reconstruction of the knee was because?
I ruptured my cruciate ligament and it didn't get diagnosed for 6 months. And
I'm assuming
I had surgery another 6 months. I've got a lot of arthritis in that knee now.
I'm assuming that, okay, okay. And anterior cruciate.
Anterior cruciate, yes.
I'm assuming,
Snapped it,
okay.
yeah.
Anterior cruciate usually shows, so by the way, there are going to be arguments about this also, but in my opinion, and cruciate ligament, if you can distinguish from cruciate ligament and meniscus, which I hear even surgeons who replace them can't tell why they're doing one versus the other, so it's like they're already opening it and they can't tell. It's weird. But should show an inner knee eye, and it doesn't. And meniscus shows a little bit above spleen 9. Oh, yes.
Yeah, just a little bit, yeah.
Okay, so first of all, this spleen 9 is out of the question for me now, because I have very close to it. This is spleen 9, and this is her pain. So, because before I checked inner knee eye, so actually I'm going to argue that you may have had the anterior cruciate ligament replaced, but maybe it's your meniscus that's really the problem. But it doesn't matter. This is the pressure pain. So this is where I'm going with the body. I don't care what the theory is.
So, sorry, to be a pain. So the meniscus is related to above spleen 9?
Yes.
Is that, yeah.
Between spleen 9 and liver 8.
Yeah.
Okay. And ACL will tend to show on inner knee eye. And some people will tell you that the meniscus does reflect on inner knee eye. In my experience, personal experience, not accurate. So if I now press stomach 41 plus spleen 5 together, how is your knee here?
It's not, I'm not feeling it.
Not feeling it, okay. And you also had gallbladder 34, how is that?
That's feeling
Hmm?
fine. That's feeling fine.
Okay, so back to your question, everything relates, you know. So I don't have to use kidney 6, why? Because I told you stomach 41 is also another
Yeah.
equivalent.
Yeah.
You know, and that's one thing, so maybe this side will not be quite the blood pressure, but hold on, one more thing to check. You had something, before, okay.
Yes.
I don't believe stomach 41 spleen 5 does a good trick for that. How is now?
Not as bad.
Not as bad, but not fabulous. Okay. Best one for that is kidney.
Oh,
Kidney,
that's,
kidney 7 did it.
yeah.
Okay.
Kidney 7.
Yeah. Generally for back of the knee, kidney 7 is a better job. If you want, let's start kidney 9. Hi, how's now?
That's fine.
That's fine also. So apparently it doesn't, as long as you get the chwai involved, okay, the stomping capacity of the kidney involved, doesn't matter which, for her, it doesn't matter which point. For some people it would matter. So now you can say, oh, it's insomnia, kidney 9 is the way, I prefer. So I'm okay, because she didn't have kidney 2 pain, I can go either one. So what I'm going to do...
She didn't have or did have?
He did not
Did
have
not,
kidney
yeah,
2 pain. Therefore I can do either one. Okay? So what I'm going to do on the left side, where the insomnia issue is, so you have here, right? Sorry, with kidney 9, how's insomnia?
I'm not feeling it.
Well, actually, that's not insomnia, that's heart. But, and you have insomnia here, right? And with kidney 9, how's insomnia?
I'm not feeling it.
And compare for me with kidney 7. You feel a little bit, it sounds
A little
like.
bit.
Okay, so kidney 9 apparently is better for her, at least on the left side. Okay, I'm going to check kidney 9 for this side against. You have just right of do 15, right? Okay, so kidney 7, how's the neck?
It feels a little better.
A little better. And now? Much better. Okay, so she is a kidney 9 type. Okay, so her treatment should be spleen 6, spleen 9, but can't be both sides. I have to leave this side out because this side can't do spleen 9. I'm going to do stomach 41 and spleen 5 instead. Okay, then we do pericardium and we do kidney 9. Then we recheck the body and sort of reevaluate. And under the third toe is blood pressure, and we reevaluate. The heel I will do when she's on her, when I do the back treatment, because it's easier for me to reach. It's also, I prefer Moxa the needle on that. So, any questions on the thought process up to now? Okay, let's do it. That's good. Oh, that's good.
So would it mean that?
So spleen 6 and spleen 9, left side. Now, I have a dilemma right now, and I'm going to solve it in a second, but remember, I would have wanted to add gallbladder 34. But I don't mind if I don't do spleen 9 both sides, that's okay. But if I do spleen 9 plus gallbladder 34, and I'm like, chun them upwards, sort of thing. But if I now do it only on this side, and I happen not to be able to do it on this side, I know I can do spleen 9, but if I can't do gallbladder 34 at the end either, I got myself into trouble, because you know what happens if you do this on this side? She ends up like this. So I'm leaving gallbladder 34 out until the end, because I need to see what's going to happen. So now notice like stomach 41, I needle towards kidney 6. Okay, not straight down, the angle is in and towards kidney 6. And spleen 5 is needle towards stomach 41. Okay. So 15. How's it done?
It's not feeling as pronounced. It's still that.
Okay, how much by percentage would you say is left here?
It's 6%'s gone. It's not 40%.
40% there. And this guy had a little bit also?
I'm not feeling that's the same at all.
Okay, great. So we still have 40%. This is one of the reflexes for insomnia, so it's very important. Now, how are we doing with gallbladder 20 on the left?
I'm still feeling it, but it's not as strong.
Okay. So, pericardium, I have to check pericardium 8. Any discomfort? No. Okay. So my question is it pericardium 4 or is it pericardium 6? So I have GB20 to check it against. When I press pericardium 4, 3 fingers below 3, how is GB20?
I'm not feeling it.
Not feeling it. And just for the sake of it, I prefer pericardium 4 personally. How is pericardium 6 doing for the neck?
It's about the same.
The same, okay. So since I have a personal preference, I didn't prove anything with either one. Oh, I do have one thing I do want to have one more. REN 15, you have 40%, right? When I press pericardium 4, what is my percentage now?
It's not.
Make it up.
Less. It's less.
Give me a number.
I say 20.
Okay, the reason why I gave you a number is because, give me a number now.
10.
Ah, I don't like pericardium 6, but she likes pericardium 6. So in that sense, yeah, no. So if you say to yourself, I'm too busy for all this checking, then go away whatever dogma you want. An extra 10% is not the end of the world. But my preference is to try and check it. Now notice I needle pericardium 6 with the flow of the meridian. I know if there is a way, even for me, I will needle pericardium 6 upwards. If I do that, I only do it with a particular method to make them feel like there's air bubbles going up towards the chest. It's a unique situation. I don't generally do it. Okay? So relax the arm. Is that okay? Right. And any discomfort?
A little bit under the front.
A little bit. Under my thumb, yeah. Okay, so I basically dictates, she has pericardium 8 pain, so I basically dictates pericardium 3 and 5, but you have a right of do 50, yeah, okay. When I press pericardium 3, is that better?
Yes.
Okay. So even with points that I'm sure, I'm trying to confirm that they're doing something. I'd rather have an extra sense of security. Oh yes, this point is right, or the location is right, or whatever. Okay. And 5, metal water. Okay. I need to add under the third toe. You okay?
Yes.
More scary than painful, right? Or not?
I felt it.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
All right. Now, what I want to do is, whoops, sorry, check what's happening to gallbladder 34 and see if I can add it on both sides. I'll add it. If not, I have to let go. So, and then I can go maybe. Well, kidney 9 still has to come. Gallbladder 34 is okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. So let me. I keep using the. It's okay. So let's finish with the kidney 9. Interesting. Her kidney 7, if you can see this part, has like a bump here. This is part of the falling down. Kidney 9 is called returning the flow, and people trying to interpret it as saying, oh, it has to do with water metabolism. Sorry, that's not how I see it. Okay, it has to do with the flow of the kidney channel, that the flow is falling. Okay, so it's returning the flow, the skating. It's actually to bring back the skating. You know,
To bring back what, sorry?
skating, to skate. But, you know, people translate it as, you know, because for skating there has to be a smoothness. Okay, so you can see often kidney 9, you can see this falling down into it, just like it's spleen 9. You can often see like there's something falling down onto it. So remember, we checked kidney 9 before against the neck, etc. And now I can do gallbladder 34 both sides because hopefully that's still no pain, right? Okay. To generate, to chuan upwards. Okay. How is the meniscus reflex?
That's feeling fine.
Good. And then we have gallbladder 34 this side. So yeah, she doesn't have spleen 9 on this side because it's too close to the meniscus reflex. But at least there's something generating upwards. Okay. So we're good. Are you comfortable?
Yes.
All right. We'll wake you up in 5 hours. Any questions? Okay. Now the only thing that up to now I know about the back is that I am going to do the center of the heel. That's all I know up to now. I've got to wait and see. You know, oh, actually, I do know a little bit more. I'm going to do smitus 910 because that's something that I do for autonomic nervous system disorders. But I have to check T2 to T9, which could be reflections of insomnia, to figure out how much I need to release them before I needle them, and how, you know, what am I going to use. You have a question.
What's the one under the third toe?
Sorry, the one.
What's the needle under the third toe?
That's blood pressure. Remember we did on her also? So it's called blood pressure point, either for high, low, whatever. It's basically for autonomic nervous system disorders when you have, quote unquote, more sympathetic dominance or rapid pulse. Okay? And this concept of, actually, yeah, are you comfortable?
I am, yes.
Oh, good. Pretend we're not here. So, in the nervous system we have, this comes from an older ideology, okay? In the old days, we used to think that this autonomic nervous system is composed of 2 elements, sympathetic and parasympathetic elements, and that they contradict each other, and you're either in sympathetic mode or you're in parasympathetic mode, and the only place where both of them exist at the same time is in sexual activity. Okay, you see it much more clearly with men. Okay, there has to be a sympathetic activity for sex, but you know there's no orgasm without a parasympathetic component. So that's that used to be like the 1950s, 1960s understanding. The thing is that now they're saying, well, that's not the full picture, and there's like an enteric nervous system, meaning stuff that comes from the gut, and so there's just more going on, possibly than just sympathetic, parasympathetic, which suits us very nicely because we're people who love yin and yang, right? So sympathetic is yang and parasympathetic is yin. Now here's where the problems are going to arise. A lot of people are going to come to you and they're no longer sympathetic dominant. Because you think sympathetic dominant, they're like this. And a lot of the people come to you, they're actually like this. And no. They are very parasympathetic dominant in some weird way. So it's hard to determine what's what because they may have been sympathetic dominant originally. So there's this ideology that by pulse, rapid pulse should dictate that it's a sympathetic dominant because it fits the theory, and slow pulse should fit parasympathetic dominant. In my opinion, even if you can make all sorts of ideas about why they're parasympathetic dominant, with one exception, this thing is going to be true. What you need to do, you always need to cool down. Probably either you treat the sympathetic regard, you always encourage the parasympathetic, and then you either jack up a little bit the sympathetic or you cool it down, one way or the other. And it's not like I have a point for this, a point for that, but just in thinking in terms of how you're thinking of it. And I'll show you that well, we can do that in a second. We'll talk about thyroid. We'll skip to thyroid for a second. So, the thing is, there's one area where parasympathetic dominance is important, and that's in digestive issues. What happens is there are people who will produce stomach acid or peristalsis constantly, that they'll have diarrhea or they'll have heartburn or something like that. And it's basically comes from the fact that their nervous system is confused, they're in constant parasympathetic mode. You do not digest when you're running from the dinosaur, you're not digesting. Okay? So if you have, there are people whose heartburn comes because of a confusion in the nervous system. And then what you need to do is you need to decrease parasympathetic input. But really more just to the digestive system, not systemically. So I think that generally I wouldn't say that parasympathetic dominance is really something you want to address, with the exception, in terms of reduced parasympathetic input, with the exception of particular digestive complaints, that it can be a case. Does that make sense? Because I know it's a very confusing subject of sympathetic parasympathetic dominance, and everybody goes, oh, what the hell? Why would parasympathetic dominance be a problem? The one time when it would be a problem is in digestive issues. It could conceivably be a problem with pacemaker type people. Okay, that's another place where there could be an issue. Does that make sense? So I know it doesn't fully jive for most people. It's a little bit like the yin-yang and the left and the right. It's something contradicts here. Anybody else had a question? Yes.
In this particular case where there is evidence of family history of diabetes and also a big sugary intake of this person.
Why not spleen 3?
Yes.
Okay. So the treatment for, yes, because I already have spleen 6, spleen 9, because for me, that kind of took priority. If she said she's diabetic, by the way, spleen 9 is also a diabetes point, but eventually we arrived at, I can also give you other diabetes points, but because I chose spleen 9, then the spleen 3 became, I could make the argument for spleen 3 just as easily. This is the thing. You can clear the abdomen 20 different ways, and they're all relevant. Spleen 3 is relevant because she's downward pulling, and I'm saying spleen 3 is an upward pulling kind of situation. So yeah, I could have chosen that just as easily, no problem at all.
Okay.
It's not like it's wrong. It just isn't what I chose because I thought, okay, let me go with the blood pressure. Anyone else? But on the back, we still have to T11, T12. Because that's universal, and so on the back, generally speaking, you want to release the spine. So if you look at the spine as if it's the bow of an arrow, they're going to be. If you are, if you're one of those people who shoots bows, is that what it's whatever it's called, or an archer, the way you're going to get the most out of your instrument is by basically you need to get the arch, the highest arch you get, the most contradiction in the arch you get, the further the bow is going to go. Okay, if I just pull it this way and release, it's going to go to here. But if I pull it here, it's going to shoot all the way to the end of the room, right? So in the spine, the highest curves, or the most significant changes in curve, are going to be most likely the most important places in the spine. On most people, these are going to be, granted, it is going to include do 4, but that's, in my experience, just as with all due respect to do 4 and how it's important, and Ming Men and blah, 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 it doesn't come into play in my practice so much. The biggest changes for me that I see occur between T12 and L1. Okay, so that's T11, T12 area. That's a very big change. That's where the lordotic curve changes into a kyphotic. It's the beginning of the very beginning of the kyphotic curve, but it's also a larger vertebrae moving into a more flexible, from a thoracic to a lumbar. It's big to small, flexible to less flexible. The lumbars are much more flexible than the thoracics. Okay? The thoracics are bound by the ribs. Okay? You can't move them very much. Now it's going to get worse as you go up. Okay? Your biggest tightness in your ability to undulate your spine is going to be around T75. Okay? Which again is basically the height of the kyphotic curve. In other words, it's the equivalent of Ming Men, except opposite. Ming Men is the height of this, and T5 is the height of that, moving backwards. Okay? So T7 and T5 are very important vertebrae also. Okay? So so for example, as somebody who's hypothyroid, okay, what is hypothyroidism? Try and do no organ, no Chinese organ, no, yeah, we know, I said it's kidney for me, okay, so yeah. But if I try to describe hypothyroidism in Chinese terms, how would you describe it? Without using 5-element organs. Yang deficiency, yeah. So if I want to undo yang deficiency, to address yang deficiency, what would I do? There was something. Activate the do would be one method, one way of looking at addressing yang deficiency. Okay, so the treatment of hypothyroid on the back is to activate the do, which means do 2, T11, T12, T7, and T5. It's in the notes somewhere, by the way. Okay, so and that, because I'm activating the spine now, that treatment from being just a treatment for hypothyroidism also become a treatment for just about most of your autonomic nervous system disorders. Because you're opening the spine, you're undulating the spine, you're releasing the nervous system.
Is it the Wato Jaji, is that those vertebrae?
For me, it's generally, I'd use the Watos.
Yeah.
You can use the do as well. You can choose. I don't have a good resonance with the do, and I'm looking for the Watos, and I'm looking for like gummy areas on the Watos. You'll see in a moment when we turn over, how I do this. Yes?
When do you include this sphincter of Oddi? I don't really understand the sphincter of Oddi point.
Okay, so sphincter of Oddi is used for a number of places. If you have for an actual diabetic, which is different than sugar, okay, she is a predisposed for diabetes. And if I were going, there could have been a possibility when I just said, oh, parents diabetic, okay, we'll start with that. There are people for whom that works great. Just go with start with spleen 3, adrenal, immune point, and OD. So that's one thing, is you do it for actual diabetes. The other place you use the OD point, stomach 22 on the right side, is when they have muscular pain is spleen 3. OD is a support for muscle pain, but especially if the muscle pain is on the left side. Okay? But OD is especially good for pain that feels like a bruise. So whenever you hear a phrase from a patient that says, it feels like a bruise, right stomach 22, you should test it. Now, if it has pain on it, releases with spleen 3 first. Okay? We were on something else before that question. We'll come back. Anyone else?
Could you just differentiate between the type 1 and type 2 diabetes? How do you...
For me, kind of irrelevant. I mean, the difference is that, well, I haven't had a lot of type 1s, so I can't really say. With type, I don't have, sorry. I would treat it, the only thing with type 1, because it's juvenile onset, and it's actually insulin dependent, then you may have a lot more issues that have to do with hormonal system. I mean, there may be more going than just the standard diabetes treatment. I would have to check a lot more things going. How, like desmoitin 13, for example, show, because that's one for hormonal reflex. I mean, I would look for more hormonal reflexes as well. You also want to check the diabetes, you want to check liver. Yes, because liver is storage of glycogen. But I don't have a good answer for the differentiation of type 2, type 1, because I haven't seen all that many type 1s. Most of the people I've seen are type 2. And it's partially because I don't see children.
Yeah, sorry, I have a friend who's just had a child diagnosed with type 1, and they said that actually they think it's an autoimmune condition.
Yeah, but they say that about diabetes in general, so I'm not so sure if, quite honestly. I don't know, because I think that I would have to treat a lot more children to understand type 1, because by the time they come as adults, it's like it's so much more complex. Sorry. Anyone else? Okay, so moving on. So REN 15 was worry reflex. REN 17 is we call anxiety reflex. So same treatment but the problem here is if I use spleen 3 and pericardium, here's the thing to look at. Pericardium and REN 17. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot here. Sorry, I forgot that you can see what I see. There's a computer, but there's. Oh, already. Oh, I thought it was at 4. I didn't think that they were here. They're here already. Okay.
I don't know if you want to...
No, we'll just finish this and then we'll. Sorry. Okay. So, if I use pericardium for REN 17, I've blocked myself from using anything else. Why? Because this is the pericardium midpoint, and this is the pericardium channel. So something doesn't fit. Once I use this, I kind of quote-unquote use my trump card. Not a good idea. So with REN 17, before I do pericardium, I'd rather release the neck, release the nerve system, either with Sanjiao 8. Oh, so we haven't gone through this. So this is a big trick that you should, which will be very useful in your point. When someone has a tight SCM, I use opposite side Sanjiao. Okay? If the pulse is slow or normal, my first choice is Sanjiao 8, which is a third below the elbow. Okay? If the pulse is rapid, my choice is Sanjiao 5. But believe me, rapid pulse or slow pulse, the opposite point the wrong point for the pulse can still work. Okay? So you have to find which one works better. Start with the one that's supposed to fit the pulse, but if it's not the best, go for the other one, even though it's contradictory to the pulse. It's okay. So Sanjiao, opposite side of the SCM, releases the SCM. Okay? Sanjiao, of the same side of the cervicals, releases the cervicals. Okay? So I love using Sanjiao, okay? Because releasing the neck is a huge deal. Okay?
So you say cervicals use the same side?
Same side for the cervicals, but opposite side for the SCM. And I'll tell you a secret. Same side releases same side of SCM also. But the original was opposite side. So you can use either one or both.
And would you go above the elbow in the Sanjiao channel?
Above the elbow? Not really. I don't have much resonance with these points. No. Sorry. Yes?
It also mentions in Kiiko's book to use alongside that GB40 or
Yeah, it's a
41.
supporting point. You can throw it
Do you
out.
need?
No, you can let go.
Yeah.
can totally let go of that. You'll get a teeny bit extra, not really worth it. Not a big deal. So, we're okay with that? Okay. So basically release the lymph. So, an immune point is between largeness and 10 and 11, and it should release the Sanjiao 16 area. So people who've had originally what's called tonsillitis point. People who've had immune problems will often show pressure pain on Sanjiao 16 behind the SCM. It's not on the SCM, it's behind the SCM. Okay? So we do have another patient already here. I'm sorry, did I? It's okay, it's okay. Julie. That's fine. It's not.
It wasn't that me.
Monsieur Dewey. Oh, you are.
Well, I'd go to that.
I wasn't sure. No, you were here already at 2 o'clock.
Yes, I could sit in.
No, you can't. That's totally fine. That's why I didn't think you were the patient.
Check the Sanjiao, and if painful, you need all Sanjiao.
Oh, Sanjiao 16, that's immune.
Yeah, so where do you... Oh, that's that one, isn't it? Just below there.
Okay, so tell us why you're here.
Yeah, is that okay? Yeah.
Long-term anxiety.
Long-term anxiety. Please, if we can concentrate, it will be very nice. I know it's hard. So, are you anxious about particular things or a generalized anxiety? Is there a target to anxiety?
Generalised, I think.
Okay.
There's certain things that would definitely trigger.
Such as?
Concentration, tricky people, tend to be severe recurrent, but generally I think I'm anxious as a child, and I think that's the same.
Anything else? Any medical statement?
Psoriasis, I've got psoriasis, it's superficial, it's extensive, but it's superficial in terms of depth.
Okay.
That's been since I was 11. I've got some kind of ear, nose and throat problems, tonsillitis, sinus problems, polyps, nasal polyps, asthma. Those are the kind of...
And the thing is, well, okay, so asthma can be a number of different things. One of the things that asthma can be a pure autonomic nervous system, because it's a spasm. So it could be that the nervous system is causing it. But it can also be, it could have started as a pure lung issue, like the alveoli cannot contract back, okay, creating asthma. But then if he, as a child, as a very young child, has that, if you imagine, you can't breathe in, or actually you can't breathe out in asthma. Officially, asthma is you cannot breathe out, even though everybody differentiates between, asthma is the alveoli cannot contract back, so they can't, you can't contract the lungs back. So if it's like, I can't breathe, of course you're going to get anxious. It makes sense. So, I don't know which came before. The nervous system was a certain way and created the asthma, or the asthma was there and created, helped create a nervous system that's sensitive. Anything else?
I guess if I get very anxious, I think it then leads to depression, because it's like a frustration of coming back to a familiar situation. So if the anxiety gets beyond what I would consider manageable,
And then you get depressed about it.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. It seems to be just sort of like one affecting the other, rather than a sort of random depression coming from nowhere.
Okay. All right. And you've had anxiety. You were anxious as a child. So as early as you remember, there's been this been.
Yeah. Both my parents had issues. My mum had depression and severe psoriasis. And my father had a kind of breakdown during the war. He was in India during the Second World War. He came back from a hospital ship and used to describe himself as never quite the same again. So he had depression and anxiety as well. So both parents definitely had emotional issues.
Okay. where would you, when you get anxious, where do you feel it?
In the diaphragm, and sometimes in my abdomen, on the left side.
Left side of the abdomen,
Yeah.
okay. Now, he's pointing at the abdomen, he's saying diaphragm, but he's actually pointing at rank 12. You're pointing at your stomach more than your diaphragm.
Yeah,
Interesting.
it's a band across.
You
It's
feel-
actually quite wide,
Oh,
quite a
okay.
wide band.
And it feels like a constricted band?
Yeah,
Okay, and then you feel left side of the navel,
like a sharp pain,
sharply.
constant.
How often does this happen?
But this feeling is more common. This pain in the abdomen is less common. I had it for about 5 months, about a year ago.
For 5 months running, constantly?
Pretty much, yeah.
Right now it's not there?
No,
Is this there?
a little bit. Not
A
much.
little bit there.
Not much.
Okay. Okay. Let's take you. Oh, you're
Yeah,
okay. Do you mind showing off?
sure.
She's sleeping before 5 hours. We don't have to turn her off. She's not sleeping. I wanted to check and find out. Are you okay?
I'm chilled, yes.
You're chilled. Excellent. Okay. Because I can either turn you. It's okay to start someone else. Because it means that I'm not going to get back to you for at least 10 minutes.
Oh, you're fine, I'm happy.
Perfect. Would you mind belt off?
Sure.
And we'll put you on the table face up. That's for your head, and this is for your knees. Lower, so it's more level. Yours feels slightly away, so it's more. Good. Are you comfortable?
I was a late arrival, so my dad was already, my mum was 40 when I was born. My dad was born in 22, so he was young and going to India.
You said left abdomen, right? So one of the things with people with depression, here's the main thing is anxiety, is often they will have feet that, okay, so look, very easy to ply out. Okay? This is just as easy with my hands, but can you see that this one is, it's not held, but it's narrower.
Say again, please, Amy.
The toes
Yes.
are more close together on the left side. Some people, remember this is not his primary because that's not depression, his is anxiety. Their toes will be stuck, and if you try and separate, they don't want to separate. That's very typical of many people with depression. Okay? So it's just one sign in the body that you can have.
So if
So it's
toes are
interesting
close
that these
together-
toes, if the toes together, it means the brain does not get oxygenated well. Because the brain, it's a large part of the brain has to do with the toes as well as the fingers, of course, also. But, so if you're not spreading your toes, you kind of, there's a sudden deprivation of oxygen in the brain. Does that make sense? So that's why we need bafans for depression or headaches, to oxygenate the brain. So, interestingly, his is, he has, when his anxiety gets strong, he gets left side abdominal pain. And interesting enough, if you compare the left and the right toes, I actually expected these to spread out a lot more easily than these, but they both spread out as easily, but these are, if you just look visually, these are a little bit more tight together, and these are more spread away. Okay, it's just the way it happens. You did something to your left ankle. Did you sprain this ankle?
Don't think so.
It's fine.
I used to be prone to ankle sprain when I was younger. Not recently.
Where else do you have psoriasis? Okay, I see.
All down my sides. Glutes, thighs. It's always worse on the inner thighs. At the moment, it's pretty good. I've been taking herbs, but it can be quite extensive.
Okay. Can I open this?
Sure.
Okay. So, when I poke here, you just feel my fingers? If you feel anywhere something different in my fingers, let me know, okay? So, left stomach 26, 27. Right stomach 26, 27. Below kidney 16. And below kidney 16. And Ren 9. Ren 12. This is the area that you complained about, right?
Yeah.
So, but when I press, you don't care.
It's slightly less
Slightly,
comfortable, but
okay,
not
so slightly under.
slightly less.
How about 15?
It's okay.
How about 17?
Okay.
Now he says it's like a band and it's from the navel all the way up to here. Is that the width of the band? Okay. I'm just checking to see if he says anything along the band. No. Okay.
That last one. Is a
That
little
last
bit-
one.
Yeah,
Okay.
a little bit.
So we can say, I don't know, spleen 15, a little high, whatever, you know, something, it's along the spleen line on this side, okay? But not
No, but
the great horizontal, no. Okay. How about great horizontal this side? So it's a little bit above
yeah.
15, okay. So the only thing we found up to now is a little bit here,
Little
you
bit.
said. You'd said nothing here.
No.
Okay. And nothing here. Okay. So his body does not like to cooperate. To give me information. How about 1, 2, 3. 3. 1, 2, 3. Sorry? 1, 2, 3. But and none of them. How about the scalings? No?
3 a little bit.
3 a little. Okay. And this side scalings?
2.
2, 2, and 3. Okay. So I have option of scalings and Ren 12 and above spleen 15. The cervical, no,
The second one.
the second one, C3.
I think it's slightly lower.
It's like this one?
Yeah.
Okay, so here and right side 2, 3, 4.
Second.
This one.
Yeah.
Okay, so C3 kind of on both sides, meaning, you know, he says my diaphragm is stuck, so that's phrenic nerve either way. And 1, 2, 3, anything? 1, 2, 3, I'm checking for asthma. Okay. Asthma generally does not show in lung 1, even though theoretically, moot point. Because the asthma is in the bronchies, and they don't, you know, this is kind of further out. So if you've had pleuritis or something like that, it will show in lung 1. Okay, TB might show in lung 1, but regular asthma will tend to show. The other place asthma will show is on between the shoulder blades. Right, I will ask you if I need help, because no, otherwise we're just both moving and we're canceling each other out. Anything here? Yeah. On the rhomboids, okay. I'm not on UB4, this is UB43, that's also? No. I'm a little bit, not quite on the inner UB line, but, you know, maybe slightly out, I can't really tell. But what I'm saying is I'm not on the inner border of the scapula, I'm actually on the rhomboid. So here and here, correct? Okay, and equivalent of this side.
A little bit. That
A little bit
second one,
here, but
more on the left.
more on the left, here and here. Okay. And you have the psoriasis and lung issues. Do you still have any sense of asthma at all?
Sometimes. I've been getting it with the hay fever recently.
Could you breathe in for me very as deeply as you can? In and out. And out. Again. There's a very slight catch in the out breath, right? The in breath sounds totally smooth to me.
I've only got one nostril working at the moment.
Oh,
It's hay fever.
yes, got you. Okay. So basically we have the back, we have the rent 12, and this guy. We have nothing. Do we have another finding besides rent 12 and above spleen 15? Let's take the neck. Oh, the neck, yes, of course, the neck. The neck is always there. All right.
Avi,
Yes.
round 14, do you palpate straight in? 'Cause
15.
sometimes- sorry.
Well,
or
I
do you-
don't have a reason to go leftwards because he doesn't have any history of cardiac.
Does that not pick up the diaphragm as well, if you go up?
No, if I do the diaphragm, I would do more like here rather than just in the center.
Okay.
You know, you have a little bit here, right? No, you don't.
Feels a little bit tight, not
A little bit tight. Okay, a little bit tight. Okay, so a little bit tight. Okay. So, no, but with 15, I straight in for regular, for anxiety, for emotional stuff, up and to the left for cardiac.
Okay.
It's a little bit different. Okay. So, in terms of abdomen, I have 12, and I have this guy, correct? Okay. When I press, and there's this guy here, right? When I press spleen 4,
Spleen 4 is quite tender.
okay, forget how tender spleen 4 is. How is your rhomboid, the shoulder?
Better.
By how much?
60%?
60%, okay. I'm trying to see if treating asthma is going to do it. So asthma is lung 5 plus either spleen 4 for exhalation, which it felt to me like there was, if anything, there was an exhalation. Or, and by the way, spleen 4 name, gong sun, meaning, the descendant and the ancestor and the descendant together. Parents also have, the same way that you can say Huang for inherited issues, you can also talk about spleen 4 for inherited issues. Okay? When I press lung 5, how's the lung hold?
80%.
80%.
Yeah.
And this one only does 60%, and one more. No, not Mushu is here. This is the trochanter. If you, I'll show you in a second. How's now? The rhomboid?
90%.
90. So this one is the best one. Okay. How is your above spleen 15?
It's gone, it's fine.
Okay. And how's rank 12?
80%.
Okay. How is here? Oh, no, sorry, yours was scaling. Let me check. 1, 2, 3, which one? 2. When I press on the femur, how is that?
It's gone.
Gone. Okay, one more. When I press on spleen 4, and how's this guy here, the neck?
Still gone.
Gone.
No,
Also.
not actually.
Not as good.
Not
Okay,
quite
no.
as good as.
I understand this trochanter. Hold on 1 second, I just want to explain to that. Stand up. Because people always ask, what the hell is this point? Okay, so we can call it about a 29, except I'm going to take it on the front of the trochanter rather than on behind the trochanter. So what I want you to do is I want you to basically schlep your weight into, not into your knees, into your hip. Throw the weight down into the hip. Now, this is what I'm not doing. I'll show you two different things. If you look at my chest, I can do this. I'm congesting my chest, which will throw the hip down. But I'm literally just throwing my hip down, and then you see what happens in my chest, right? It sinks. Okay? So you feel that yourself. Okay? Now, push this, so to think of you're still pushing into your feet, right? It's the same thing that we did before. The difference is now I want you to think of opening this up. And what happens? Your chest opens, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. There's a connection between if the leg and the torso come together, it's the same theme constantly. If they're together, your chest will congest. If you separate them, your chest will open. We want to open his diaphragm, we want to open his chest. Therefore, trochanter point is very good for asthma. It's very good for, I'm looking for the trochanter. I'm trying to create a separation between the leg and the torso. Make sense? Okay, so that's where this point comes from. All right, so let's get you started. Okay, so, and you see what I'm doing is I'm also trying to, as much as I can, find as many reasons to use the point to justify intellectually, like the point named blah, 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 and then check it against the body. Okay? So, spleen 4 comes because of the asthma, but then I'm also saying, ancestor descendant. Okay? So, does ancestor descendant do a good job for the abdomen? For this part of the abdomen? How much is left in this one?
40%
40% left.
Yeah.
Okay. But it does something. That's the, it doesn't have to do 100%. And how about 4 and 12?
80%.
80%.
20% left.
Yeah, fair enough. And I think you said 90%, I can't remember, for this one.
Yeah.
How much is left?
10% left.
10%.
Is that sternocleidoid or
No, that was the scalene.
scalenes?
Oh, the one thing I should check, sorry. Because this is possibly the most clear one that he had, was here, right?
Which is where?
The cervical. Hi.
It's gone, 100%.
Gone, okay. So, there is no dogma. If you look at all the protocols, there's nothing that says that spleen 4 releases C4. There is something that says spleen 4 related to asthma, okay? Which comes from a phrase that says that inhalation goes to the kidney, exhalation comes from the jaw. Okay? But so yeah, then you can, if it's good for asthma, it should be good for C3. Yes, I could make that argument. The point is, if spleen 4 is a good point for him, it can almost do anything in his body. Doesn't mean it will do the same thing for someone else's body. Okay? So we'll check this one against, you have here,
Second one.
this one.
Yeah.
And now.
80% gone.
Okay. And you also have, I believe, here, right?
Just before.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay. And when I press on spleen 4, how's the neck?
90% gone.
How much?
90%.
90. Okay. So spleen 4 plus lung 5. So we're starting with asthma. Because if I can open the diaphragm, then hopefully,
So because the body's not giving that many clues,
uh-huh.
then you just rely more heavily on the medical history. And
I'm always relying heavily on the medical history. That's my point. And he has a bunch of immune issues, right? You know, the tonsils were removed.
Not removed.
Oh, but yeah, tonsillitis.
Recurrent
It is-
tonsillitis. Even into forehead.
Any discomfort here?
Second one.
This one. Sorry, tell me as soon as it happens.
Back further back. Yeah.
This one.
Yeah.
Okay. So looking for, when an immune point, it's a relative, I basically release the pressure from Sanjo 16, but I keep my finger on it, or under it in this case. And then I'm sliding here until I feel, I can feel with my left hand, there's something worthy here, but more important for me is I want to see under my right pericardial finger or above it, I'm feeling a change, even though I'm not pressing. It's something that you can feel through the skin. How is now?
That was better.
How much better?
Sorry, 90%.
I love these percentages. Because people say it's better, but it's just a little bit better.
Was that cycle or scaling? What was better?
Sanjo
Oh,
16.
sorry, it's only 16. Sorry.
It's okay. The problem is, if I have to keep track of your brain as well as mine, it's a little difficult, so don't be surprised if it doesn't work. I'm having enough problems with mine, trust me. And tell me as soon as there's something uncomfortable.
Yeah, that,
This one?
yeah.
Okay. And now,
90%.
90. Okay. He's a 90 kind of guy. No, so some people have a number that they... Sorry, oh, the cat. Sorry. Okay. And now, let's talk trochanter. Well, this is... Let's see what we can manage. Do you mind? Don't. How long are these? Short. They're short. Very excellent. Anything to make us as modest as we can, but God forbid needle from a course, which is what they've done in China for thousands of years, probably. after they've licked the needle.
Only if it was dirty.
The needle or the I just want to make sure which part of the body, what it is that they were trying to do. Oh, yes, it is. This is part of the psoriasis. No, yeah. So, now, just since we're here, if you don't mind being a good mom, GB26, take the navel, go all the way to the side. Mushu, just below his, well, he actually has very high hips, but below the iliac crest. And trochanter, they're all side points, but you see that they're all about 3 tsum apart. Okay? I know that people get confused between the three, and I never fully understand what's so confusing, but I know it's confusing to people. Yeah, well, they're in the line. Well, but
Yes.
so is the red line in the line. I'm so sorry. Well, there's a difference between red 12 and red 1. Yes, there is a difference. No, but that's why I'm sure. I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying because I know it's problematic. I'm showing you. I want to show you like them in a row. Gallbladder 26, Mushu, trochanter. How is the band feeling? Okay. Would you feel it if you lie down generally?
Generally not.
Oh, okay. So
No.
it's not a good
No.
thing to.
Did you feel it just when you came in?
He said some.
Little bit.
Yeah.
Not much as
Okay.
I'm really stressed. I'm not stressed.
Okay. Well, we can change that. Yeah. No. It's your camera that's calming him down. Okay. But
I'm stand up for an 80 dermatologist.
80?
80. No, about 16.
Oh, God. Well, no wonder you have anxiety. I'm worried if I
Because this isn't really psoriasis. It's,
yeah,
they couldn't quite
yeah.
place it.
Yeah. Is there any discomfort here?
Yeah.
Okay. So his cervical one is showing. I mean, I didn't check the other ones because I'm already in it. But because all I want to do is check if I can use Sanjao 22. It's like really what's happening here. So.
A little bit, yeah. A little bit.
How's the elbow now?
0.
0. Okay. So sometimes it's not 90. Sometimes it's 0. It's good. So Sanjao 22. Okay. Because for me, it's a big point for me. Okay. And let's see if we get any mileage on the other side. Any discomfort? No. So that you don't have to. I'm going to take the arm. Any discomfort? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So even though this is lumbar, I'm starting with cervicals. I will add lumbar if I have to. Now, I'm really not doing cervicals according to Yamamoto. I'm doing Sanjao 22. How's the elbow?
No change there.
No change, okay. Allowed to be wrong.
50%?
I'm thinking.
It's a bit more maybe.
Yeah, sorry?
Maybe 70%.
Maybe 70, okay.
90.
90, okay.
Maybe, are you testing at the elbow because you've lost C3 in actuality?
I've lost basically
You've
all the
cured
other
C3,
reflexes.
so, yeah.
I've already fixed all my other reflexes. So that's one. Now, what I can do now is, because it was on lumbar, okay. Are we at 90?
0.
Let me see if I can find that. Is it 10%?
Yeah.
Okay.
20%.
20%, okay, good. Always can find another point. So now I'm going into the center 1819, which is the lumbar area for Yamamoto. Okay, so I'm looking for something that's going to be puffy and give in, it's like going over a speed bump a little bit. Okay, so hi, how's that?
0.
0. Okay. Zero?
No, it's. Back a bit.
Yeah, the needle was fabulously placed. Okay, no.
It'll annoy you, but it's probably 10%.
I don't care about it. I do. I have a great outlet under the third toe. How's that?
Still about 10%.
I get milk and everything?
Wouldn't consider taking it out.
I would.
10% still about 10%.
So yes, considering do we do?
Is it just on the edge of or over the bone?
Hmm?
Is that just on the edge where it goes in over the bone? Or
Hold on.
where you put it in, is it just over the edge where the bone is there?
That over the edge doesn't resonate, doesn't mean that I'm not relating to it, so I can't answer.
What do you
that.
feel
Come
under your
on.
fingertip?
Oh, what I'm feeling, I'm looking for something that there's going to be a dip there's going to be a dent, but there's also going to be some puffiness. That's kind of what I'm looking for. So, hold on. Is that here? Because I'm from a different angle now. Yeah, okay. So here. How's that?
0.
Problem is, my thumb is quite a bit bigger than my needle. So you just hope that the needle got what the thumb got. Because the thumb could have gotten quite a bit more. So,
0.
0.
Yeah.
Okay. Relax. Enjoy. We'll be with you in a little bit. All right, madam. She had left side UB43, right? Yeah. By the way, I told you 80% of people will have left side UB43. That's not a sign of cardiac. It's a sign of nervous system, in my opinion. More. Oh.
You know who you are. She knows us. I think we do.
How many more years in you?
Nothing under the floor.
Hmm? No, these are the ones you're worried about, yes. All right, let's turn you over. And this pillow away. Lift your belly up for a second. Okay, here we go. Okay, so she has 1, 2, 3. Anything?
No.
No, gone. Okay. All right. So T7 is diaphragm line, right? So UB16 is called Dushu. UB17 is called Geshu. Geshu meaning diaphragm. The shu for the diaphragm. UB16 is called Dushu. Clearly it's not the shu for the do because you've never seen anybody needle UB16 for the spine. Okay? So this do means something else. This do means like supervisory. Okay? The character is basically someone overlooking the hands that pick up the beans. That's what the character do means. Okay? To supervise. Okay? So notice someone overlooking the work of picking up the beans. There's a difference between a supervisor or a governor. Okay, in England it's very appropriate. Okay, to have a governor of India. Okay, if I'm Queen Victoria, the governor in India, the governor of India is very important. But in Buckingham Palace or wherever Queen Victoria is, the governor of India is very important, but he's actually some cousin, some underling cousin of mine, because if he isn't, he's going to take India, which is the jewel of the crown, and go off to whoever, sell it off to the Germans for all I know. It's the governor looks very, very important, but he's under the thumb of the emperor. Okay, so in the body we have two systems like that. Now I know you're going to want to say the heart because I use the word emperor. Do not bother. That's not what I'm talking about. We have a nervous system, looks very powerful, but he's under control of the brain. And the same thing works for the endocrine system. Okay. So the character do can be interpreted to suggest it means that it's obvious about the nervous system because the nerves come through the spine, and that's the do. It's a little less obvious about hormonal. Okay. In insomnia, because the nervous system's not operating well, okay, then we want to check. And Geshu is the diaphragm, which controls the nerves. We want to check this area of T76, okay? So, any discomfort? Oh, yes, very clearly you jumped, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
so here. Okay. How about this side? 1, 2, oh, wow. 3, 4, no. So it's this one, I'm sorry, and this one, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so my job is to fix these. Okay, number 1, sorry. Hold on, one second, hold on, because I'm doing it. Do 2. How's jumpy?
No, I'm not feeling it.
And how's other jumpy? Other side is still jumpy.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Because it's on the right side, I'm going to try liver. UB35 treats liver. I'll explain that in a second. Hi, how's jumpy on this side?
It's okay, it's not feeling, yes.
Next. So that's 1. Number 2. How's jumpy?
I'm not feeling it.
Okay, and then talk about this jumpy here, right? Yes, you're feeling it. Okay. And how's now?
It's better.
Not great. Okay, but do 2 will do it. Remember I told you the only thing I know for sure I'm doing on this side is only just 9, 10. Okay? So, give me 1 second. Okay. So, sugar points, T11, T12. Not so much on this side, only on the right side?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So, how's now?
It's feeling better,
By how much?
about 60%.
Only 60.
So
Okay.
what are you pressing?
I'll do 2.
Oh,
I'm still on do 2. No?
Completely.
Okay. Sacroiliac tends to treat the spine, period. Because the whole spine is basically relying on the capacity of the sacroiliac ligaments to send it upwards. So we'll do 2, needled upwards, plus, because after I do 2, this one's okay, right?
Yes.
But this one's still left? Yes. Okay. So 35 takes care of it?
Yes, it does.
Okay. UB35, I know it's supposed to be like half a ton away from, but it's like, if you can find a place there that's not a bone, that'll be very nice. They describe it as UB35 as, now why, okay, hold on, I'll get it. And sacroiliac ligament, now sacroiliac also because she has insomnia. Now I know, you're thinking insomnia, you understand the diaphragm, you understand it has to do maybe with this. For me, insomnia often is related to the parasympathetic plexus of the sacrum. So I'm very interested in people's sacrums when they have insomnia. And one of the things that I suggested, do you guys happen to have yoga blocks here? So sacroiliac ligament. Now, officially, no one's sacrum is this wide. Okay? Her sacrum ends here. Now, in her case, I could have needled into the sacrum, the true area between the sacrum and ilium. Most people you can't, so I have to catch those ligaments on their attachment on the iliac bone. Okay?
Anywhere on the iliac bone.
Yes, but the most powerful place will tend to be outside UB32 or thereabouts. The further up you go, if I'm going further out, it's going to get less powerful. Because as the iliac bone goes up, it also flares outwards. Okay? So, question. This is okay now?
Yes.
Okay, so now we can needle T11, T12.
Okay, I was going to just say,
Yes.
we were going to do immune on her, if I remember right. Insomnia points.
Yes,
And did you want to retest any of the points with the insomnia?
No, that's fine. Just do the Moxa. No point in... If she was a pain patient, like someone who comes for lots of pain problems, yes, then I check the insomnia. If I use the insomnia point for pain, for perceptions of pain, then yes, I do a fair amount of... No. Then I do it, but for insomnia per se, what I do is, officially you should press on the heel until you find a place that the color doesn't come back. The color comes back the slowest. That's your best point, supposedly.
Sorry, what are those points you've just done?
Smoitas and 910.
Thank you.
Can you explain why?
They relate to the autonomic nervous system. They open up the area between the shoulder blades. Okay, meaning they open up the spine here. And they have to relate to the blood pressure. Because, okay, it started from high blood pressure. And high blood pressure, if you mobilize the large joints, if you release them, or the opposite. If the large joints, meaning the shoulders and the hips, are congested, the blood pressure goes up. It's a release valve for blood pressure. Does that make sense?
Yes,
So that's how it started.
So the other two, the ones down at the bottom, you'd be using...
You mean as in making it 4 corners?
Yes.
That can be related to high blood pressure also. That would be a good idea.
Because of the hip joint.
Yes. But honestly, these are more important for me in terms of, and I'd rather do sacroiliac joints or work on the sacrum than, do this, the 4 corners. Yeah. So what I'm doing is I'm looking for a spot. I think this. Yes. No. Yeah. There's a gum. Yeah. Okay. Yes, there is. Which I'm going to call now UB17. So I'm not, the way I'm finding UB17 is I'm always looking for a nodule there. Sometimes you can find a place, I think it would be hard to see on her, that splits up the rhomboids kind of diagonally. But yeah, hold on. But I just no, I don't, oops, here also, right?
Yes.
Okay. On her, it's going to be very difficult to. 'Cause she's just not skinny enough. On a skinny person, you can see the splitting of the rhomboid when you press on UB17. And then, yes, I want to do Moxa on her insomnia point. Any smokers? Anyone with a lighter?
Yeah, I've got lighter.
That's all I care about. I don't care if you smoke.
Bladder 17 is part of the blood pressure.
No, bladder 17 is part of autonomic nervous system. It's Dushin. Yes, sure. So once I release the area, I can...
No. Oh, there we are.
Thank you. So this is just cream. So you can say that it's to stop the burn, you can say to hold the actual moxa in Oh, it's for cigars. Very cute.
For lighting Moxa sticks.
Yeah. Oh, yes, I understand. Yes. So I do have a little video on how to do moxa. Your big trick is make sure your hands are constantly clean. Wipe them off sweat. So you cannot wear nice clothes to a clinic if you're going to use this kind of moxa. And if you use the Chinese moxa, you can't wear anything. It's it's going to smell forever. Okay. But the thing is, your hands should not have any oil in them. And you want the moxa cones, I don't care how small or big they are, it's not so important. People want to make them small. It makes your ego feel like, oh, I'm so good at this, my moxa is small. Fluffy is important. So the title of the video is Size Doesn't Matter, Tightness Does. You can assume whatever you want to assume out of it, but I'm sure you'll remember. So your hands, and I know it's difficult because it feels so tiny, it takes time to adjust to this ability, to being able to, and I blow up the incense stick constantly. At the beginning, you're going to get very, I can't do it, and your hands are sweating, and you're doing it too tight, and let yourself do them bigger. Start with bigger, and it goes smaller. Don't start with small and tight, because it will be very hard to break that habit. Okay? So some people, what they do is, they roll the moxa between two wooden blocks. I know people do it, I just don't, it doesn't appeal to me. So I'm not saying it's good or bad. Now if the moxa cone is too big, which is not a problem here, you can just snuff it out and relight it. Insomnia point is a great point to learn how to do moxa on, because very few people are going to say, ouch, it's burning, it's horrible. They might say they feel it. But
so you never needleless? No.
You can put a needle in here. Most people don't appreciate the idea of having a needle, even if they don't feel it. I do needle it often. Now, if you have a needle and you do the moxa basically against the needle, the metal of the needle conducts the heat better. So there is a huge advantage to doing direct moxa, OQ, right next to a needle. It's definitely a better way to do it in some ways. But they're serving different purposes. Needle breaks down connective tissue. Moxa dissolves, opens up connective tissue. They are different in the way they work. So this moxa, the yellow stuff, okay, see, it's not brown like the Chinese or green like the Chinese. This stuff is much milder, it's much less hot. This is what moxa is supposed to be, no offense. Moxa is supposed to be the wool that grows over the leaves of the Artemisia vulgaris. It's not supposed to be the leaf itself. So what you do is you pick up everything, twigs, leaves, whatever, and then if you're selling like Chinese moxa, what you do is you just grind it all and it's done. You just sell the ground thing. If you want to produce this kind of moxa, what you do is you put the whole thing, everything that you ground, you put it in a centrifuge. Whatever falls furthest away is the fluffy part. So you don't have to go, and collect, the wool off the leaves. You just collect everything and then centrifuge it, and then use the other stuff, the harsher stuff, for other kinds of moxa. So in Japan, there's all these moxa factories that sell you all sorts of grades depending on where it fell, how far it falls off in a centrifuge. Now, I don't know who sells what here, so I can't say, people ask me how to get it. So what I do, and I don't know, someone said that maybe it's not, was it you who told me Kobayashi wouldn't sell you?
Yeah, they don't do
Idiots. Like, why wouldn't they? It's like, so
You sell it here, it grows here.
Sorry?
It grows here.
Do they?
Well,
I've
yes,
never
but do you want to
seen
make
it.
it? Yeah, but do you want? Yeah, but do you make it?
Really?
Do you want to make it?
Well, you could. I mean, if you can't import it.
Yeah, no.
If you can't import it.
Okay, so where did you get it eventually from? From Andy Harrop? Dawich Acupuncture. Okay, so that's where, apparently if you want to get Japanese acupuncturists, or do you know, is there anywhere else in
I
England?
think Acuprime does the good enough things from Japan.
So does Oxford Medical.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so
Yeah, yeah.
I just didn't know, so I told her to buy it from Japan, from a place I buy it that's very cheap and has very good moxa, and for so if I buy in the States, it's like $125 for 100 grams at OMS, and that's considered cheap. I buy from Japan, including the shipping, it's $80. So it's a big difference in price.
What's that company called?
Kobayashi. If you look for Kobayashi moxa, they'll come up.
But they're the ones who won't sell anywhere.
If it's just, if it's
Tell them, well, no. Great Britain is no longer in the market. They can sell here. Yeah, you take advantage of what you can, whether you like it or not. No, because you're in Ireland, so it may be different. I'm sure that it's just that, I bet you they have a representative here and they have some sort of contract with them that therefore they won't sell. I don't know what the story is.
Well, it's a name I know, so I must have seen it advertised.
How many times do you do that?
Hard to know. Basically, we have a number of rules. Officially, the patient should feel it for most regular points. The patient should feel it 6 or 7 times, which means you might be doing 20, depending. I basically go by the rule, instead of asking, do you feel it, do you feel it, do you feel it, and count, what I do is I just look for a change in color of the skin, which on the heel is a little hard to see. It's not always going to be, it's not really going to see it. But so you just do until you get fed up and, move on. Well, there's a limit to what one can do in life. I can sit here and do 100 and the color won't change. So you just hope for the best. I know that's not quite the precise answer. But
You can just needle it, though, right?
you can needle it. It's yes, you really can, and I don't have an objection. I think if you can needle and moxa, it's even better. But
What about using a tiger warmer?
if you like, go for it. I don't like the tiger warmer so much. I think tiger warmer, the idea of the tiger warmer was originally for giving it to patients to use, or for using on children, which I don't do. I just don't, I don't relate well. It's hard for me to treat children. So I just generally say no thank you. But if you give it to patients, what you find is they never did it. So you sold them a tiger warmer, or you lent them a tiger warmer, they never did it. So eventually, the first few years of my practice, I had a bunch of tiger warmers, and I thought, oh, well, I'm doing so well, I'm like trying to give these time. And I'm like, I'm wasting my time and their time. No one's doing it, so just let go. So, and then we'll do UB17 also. So, just to show you that it's entirely possible to do moxa without the cream, although there's some, if anybody wants, there's some things of the cream here. There's 4 left if anybody wants. But if you're really good at this, you just have to make sure that your first one, number 1, stays on the body. This is a little bigger than I wanted, so I'll oops.
Sorry?
Zoom in.
I'll try.
Okay, so let's see. Okay, this is little bit. Ah. He got flattened out, so this may not work so well. Sorry if this hurts. Okay. So now I have something to put my second cone. The first cone is garbage, and even the second one. I'm just squashing them to get something to put the other cones on. Okay, so now I basically have my cream. Okay? Now, if this was not a class, and if I'm a little bit more Chinese, what I do is this, but not appropriate. So, I suggest doing this when you're comfortable with doing moxa. You can let go of the shionko altogether if you wish and do this. You have to be careful that your cones, especially the first ones, are definitely thinner. Not compact, not compressed, just small. So this is the kind of thing where, yes, unfortunately size here will matter. This is a bit too big for this. So, okay. And now that she has some insulation, I can do, it can go regular. Are you feeling something here, some heat?
Oh, yes.
Like a mosquito bite?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that. If the mosquitoes start coming from Moscow, let me know. There is nothing wrong with snuffing them out. In fact, there's a whole technique that's all about snuffing them out. So sometimes people say, you can't be doing the right kind of moxa if you have to snuff them out. No, that's not, don't assume. The only thing is when you snuff them out, you get black fingers, and then some of that gets into the moxa. So that's the only disadvantage of snuffing them out. But that's what you have pants for. No, not really. I mean, if it's a huge cone, yes, it will do something, but...
How do you get the cream into the...
Into the tube?
Yeah.
I open the syringe up, pull out the plunger, pull it away, and then I can put the thing in.
You scoop it in?
Yep, you scoop it in.
Okay.
If you want to get it in by sucking, you have to do it when you're making the shionko.
Did you make that?
Yes. And then when you're cooking it, while it's still relatively warm, when it's still relatively warm, you can suck it up.
Right.
So yes, it's possible. Was that okay?
You have a recipe for that.
There is a recipe on my website on how to make it. Yeah.
Can you just tell me?
Sorry? Yeah, they're just oral syringe. Yeah, so the containers are oral syringes. They're not, don't get a syringe with a needle. They're what's called an oral syringe, or at least in the States that's what they're called. And pharmacies sell it. I mean, nowadays you get everything on Amazon, right? So, at least I do. No, you used to get them for free at pharmacies, oral syringes, and now they don't do that anymore. I don't know. They did, for some reason they would give you, well, because if they gave you something to to rinse something, to squirt, yeah, something like that. All right.
That is 17. That is 17.
Are you comfortable?
I am, yes. Thank you.
Because it was the height of the
You fell asleep. if you don't mind sitting up first and then turn over, because I want to see when you sit up how that feeling of abandon the chest is.
It's easier.
It's easier. By how much?
I'd say it's 80%.
80%. Okay. Let's have you face down. These papers too kind of run everywhere. These people kind of sweat on them. It's hard to put them together. I think you'll find that this is more comfortable, but I'm not imposing that. You can put it anywhere you like. Okay. Sorry. Okay, so remember, I'm always looking for left side UB43 area, because especially if they have things like anxiety, depression, because it's likely to, because of the heart pacemaker is going to show there. 1, 2, 3. But it's puffy. More here.
Yeah.
Okay. How's now?
50?
Only 50. Okay. Now?
There's 0.
0. Okay, so this does a better job. I just want to check everything else that there is to check. So officially at the beginning what you want to do is you want to do, literally you want to do this. One, and I'm not going vertebrae by vertebrae, there's maybe, when I'm pressing 3 times I maybe have passed a vertebrae. In other words, I'm not going to go, you have 12 plus 5, I'm not going to go 17 times, I'm going to go about 25, 30 times here. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm on the left side. 1, 2, 3, 4. Anything? 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not waiting too long.
2.
2, thank you. 2. Okay, so just below T7 he has. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4.
3.
3, so T11, T12. 1, 2, 3, 4.
4.
4, so that's, I would say L4 probably. 1, 2. No, okay, so L4, T11, and below T7, correct? Okay, now I'm going to do the right side. 1, 2, 3, 4.
2.
2. And what you can do is you can just check out on one of those markers that are safe for the body and just put it on, or put a piece of tape. Ultimately you start remembering more easily. Okay, so 2. 1, 2, 3, 4.
2.
2 also. Okay, this side's going to be more complicated. So, okay, we'll see if I can remember. So 2 and 2 and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I believe 2 and 2 and this.
No.
No, it was 4 this. Oh. Okay, so just 2 of them. 1 and 1. Whereas here I have this one, and this one, correct? Okay, so now when I press undo 2, how is this guy?
0.
0. How is this guy?
80%.
50.
80.
80%.
80%.
Okay, sorry. And how is, this guy?
0.
0. And how is 2?
0.
And how is 2?
0.
Okay. Do 2. The importance of do 2 is if you stand up. Do. Stand up, please. If you take your tailbone, push your tailbone forward, then push it back. So you're basically curving, making a lordotic curve in the, What do you feel when you push your tailbone forward in your chest? Or close your eyes, don't think of your body, just what do you feel mentally when you push the tailbone forward? And then send the tailbone back. Sunken. Or stuck, or something like that. Yeah. And then if you push your tailbone back, you feel it's like you're energized. You want to run, kind of thing. You want, okay. So the tailbone controls your nervous system, basically. The way the tailbone, just the same way that your psoas will. It's the other side of the psoas, sort of thing. The way your pelvic floor is held is going to affect the nervous system. Okay. So that's why do2 is so important for nervous system disorders. Okay. Now,
That wasn't my physical experience at all, so
Oh.
I'm puzzled by that. My physical experience was going forward, I have a lot more lung capacity at the back, and going back maybe because I have a curve there anyway.
yeah, you
I
could
was
be
like,
different, but
oh,
okay.
no, I don't like
So
that.
keep your, let go of the legs totally. And now keep your legs straight and just do your tailbone. See, I mean, I could be wrong. Are you doing anything?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that forward now? Okay. No, it's okay. Go ahead. Send the tailbone forward. Okay. And now send it back. Ah, yes, because your capacity for lordosis is quite extraordinary.
Oh, okay.
Yes, no wonder you're a little bit different.
Okay.
You know, because when you push your tailbone back, it's like,
Yeah.
it easily spills forward. So no wonder it would feel quite uncomfortable with you pushing the tailbone back.
Right, okay, but that for most,
For most people, it will be a little bit the other way around.
that would be an energizing thing.
Yeah, because they can't. What you can do is you can send your L5. You basically you're at the point where your L5 can drop in front of your sacrum. I would be quite careful doing that. Because you're so hypermobile there, and then you can end up with one of those spondylolisthesis situations. So I would really be careful about doing that. But most people say they can't do it that much. All they're getting is the up. You start getting it up, but that up stops at L5 for you and drops forward. So you're actually getting it down as a result because of that incredible capacity you have at L5. It just actually L6. Yes. So yeah. This is okay now? Yeah. Okay. Anything here?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So remember I told you Isha, UB49, which I want to bring upwards. How's now?
It's 0.
The neck. Okay. So I know it's against the channel, and that's not what I would normally do, but what is more important for me is lift up those ribs away, to lift the ribs away from the waist. And
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
now,
0.
0.
What point is that, please, Emily?
UB49, the name is the residence of the Yi. Okay? But I needle it upwards. It's just outside the spleen shoe.
And you're pressing the cervical.
Sorry?
You're pressing the cervical.
I'm pressing.
Up the neck.
Oh, it's just a way of finding a reflex to confirm the point.
Oh, right. So whereabouts were you pressing along there?
Between the cervicals and immune points, somewhere actually in between. And they are, okay, if you come here, actually, maybe, I don't know if you can get from a little bit of a distance, maybe. Do you see how his neck doesn't look right for me. His neck looks fine for everybody else except for me. I don't think so. My experience is that there are people with these kinds of necks, and that they...
like as though it's squashed.
Yes, but it's not just that it's squashed, it's also kind of, there's a little bit of a twist. So that's why I figured I will use that as a, plus remember the neck, if he's anxious, chances are there's something in the neck anyway. I don't have the front of the neck, but I have the back of the neck right now. So I was honestly just using it as a method of, confirming the UB49, that's all. And also he has a weird phenomenon here, a little twist here. So This is all okay?
Yeah.
And this is all okay?
Yeah.
Even this? I feel a little
Yeah.
tight. Okay, all right. So I could do this or... Okay, so... Nothing, no discomfort, no nothing.
No.
I'm not someone who's good at being able to say if something shifted back into place. You know, chiropractors can do that. I don't have that kind of capacity in my hands. So I was hoping that, so therefore I'm trying to rely on their sensation. Okay? So let's see if there's something somewhere. Here?
Yeah.
Okay. When I press 215 upwards, how's now?
80%.
80% all right. I'm still trying to see if I can do the T75. It's just that there's something a little odd in this area. Yeah.
Is it slightly curved?
Yes, in my opinion. I can't say. Nothing.
No.
Okay. Just go for it. Why not? So, the Wantos you can needle two different ways. Okay, and I'll show you on T7 a different way because I already did T5 one way. But you can totally feel free to needle them. Actually, it's three ways. You can needle a Wato totally upwards if you want. That's a totally upwards. You can needle it at 45 degrees, like I did T5, and you can do a combination of the two, which comes out to be something, never works as well on the right side, like that. This is both 45 in and it's 45 in and up. Okay, so you have options: 45 degrees straight in, 45 degrees and up, or straight up. Anything you like. My preference generally is 45 degrees up and up and in. That's generally my preference. Okay, especially the lower you are. Okay. Are you okay?
Mm.
All right. We'll be with you in a little bit. You're awake?
I am, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's have you sit up and see how things are and tell us how you use this. It's probably the only thing that we can test and feel. By the way, sacroiliac for her is also because of the knee. One of the better points for me on the back when I'm looking at that.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Yeah. I feel as if I will have a stretch. You know what I mean? A little,
Face.
like that. A proper one.
Well, I don't know which word to stretch you, but this is what I do on a lot of patients. Sit up here. Okay, don't push your stomach forward. Just sit up. Just so, in other words, I want you to find a way to send the spine up. Yes. Not what you use your legs. Okay. This is going to hurt, but you ask for a stretch. This releases the nervous system also. This releases the neck. It's one of the better ways to release the scalings. Okay. So I'm grabbing her in front of GB20. I'm grabbing the trapezius. I'll show you on the other side in a second. I'm just pulling trapezius down and towards the spine. So it's not just down, I'm doing this. I'm not doing a huge amount. I'm basically just leaning on her. Okay? Now, look to the right. So now I grab and pull down. Now, slowly look to the left. There'll be a huge stretch on the right side into the ear and the eye. You're in total control of the stretch, not me. Feeling?
Yes.
Drop the chin slightly. Drop it. Yes. Relax. Okay, stay there. And then I'm doing the same thing on the other side and go to the right. Good. ambitious. It's not about how far you can see on the right. Okay, how does it feel now? Yeah? Was that stretched enough? Or you wanted to stretch somewhere else, but I gave you that stretch. I don't know what stretch you were meaning, but...
Well, when I get home, I'll get my son. Do you know when you go back to back and one of you goes backwards and it's like...
She wants to open her chest. I
yes,
see.
one of those, yeah. That feels
good. Arms. Relax the arms on my arms. Okay.
Oh, yes.
I'll steady the couch.
Oh, yeah. Do you hear it go? That's good.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Abby, could you just show us again?
Yes, I'm gonna, yeah.
Yeah.
You're good. I volunteer. You only have to sit here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sit facing there.
Oh, okay.
Would you mind taking the shovel? Okay, so I'm grabbing in front of GB20. Okay, so I'm grabbing the trapezius. All under. Okay. So what I asked him to do is sit on your thighs rather than on your buttocks. Yes. Okay. Now, I'm going to do this to him just to kind of remind him to go up, to move up there. Now I'm grabbing the trapezius. Look to the right. Look to the right.
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
go.
But when, okay, but you let go of, yes. Now I'm pulling this down and towards the spine. And all I'm doing is I'm leaning. Okay. Move to the left. Drop the chin slightly. People like to look up because it releases the stretch, and that's not the point. Keep going to the left. Okay. You feeling?
Yeah.
Sometimes it feels like a burn. Keep going. Good. And then I'm grabbing the, while he's looking at the left, I'm taking the trapezius, dropping it towards here. So I'm stabilizing. You just lifted your chin. Okay. And now move to the right.
Is that worth having, or could you see better if I got out of the way?
All they see is my hand.
Yeah, I know. Might be better
All
if I
right,
got out of the way.
thank you. Is that, did you get it? So, two advantages of the stretch. One, yes, it releases the nervous system, because it releases the scalings in the neck, gives me better lung capacity, and it feels good. But the other thing is, you know how you take the wheels out and you say, take your time, and you're thinking, get the fuck out of this room already. I mean, but you can't say anything, right? So it's like, you take the wheels out, can you sit up, let's stretch your neck out, and then they have to be out of there because they're not going to lie down again, right? No, this is a serious concern sometimes. Sometimes you kind of like, you've got to get the person out of the room because you've got someone else coming like any second. And it's like you can't let them stay there, but you can say, excuse me, we need to get dressed really fast because I have an expert person here and I need 3 minutes to like clean up things and stuff. So it's like, it's very good. You sit them out. They feel energized and good. It doesn't feel rushed. It's a good thing for them, and it's very convenient in terms of practice management. Because I'm very good at practice management. It's what I teach professionally. So. Anyway, it's a worthwhile thing to do. Yes, you have a question? Anyone else with any questions? All right. Can we switch to the...
Yes.
Cash?
I'm sorry.
Yes, you have a question.
Bladder 17 on this lady.
Insomnia. It's, okay, we call bladder 16, 17, we call autonomic nervous system shoe. Now that's how I started this thing. It's douche.